Aloha and welcome to the Microbial Secret Society, where David and I dive deep into the microbial realm and initiate you into the Microbial Secret Society. So enjoy our podcast. The first hour is always free, and the second hour is only available to members at microbialsecret.org. So thank you, and let's begin. So welcome to the Microbial Secret Society, and today I'm here with Jeff Merriman.
Hello, everyone.
And we're sitting here on the floor of the Incheon International Airport, and we just finished up 10 days being in Korea.
Yes, it was fun. A lot of knowledge here.
Yeah, so what were some of your highlights, Jeff?
The camaraderie between all the other natural farmers. It was good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something I definitely appreciate too, and one of the reasons I came on the trip, just to kind of spend some time with my homies, because I feel like I don't get to see you guys enough.
Yes, totally agree. These trips is what the community is built on.
Yeah, and so how many times is this for you coming to Korea?
This is only my second time to Korea.
And first time, what was your mission?
To come over here and really get good at Korean natural farming, to go back and be able to teach my fellow farmers.
And with that, do you feel like you've been moving forward on that mission?
Yeah, it's a slow mission, but definitely I'm a cannabis farmer, so going back, a lot of people shun me in my community because of cannabis, but they're coming around and they're seeing the light that Korean natural farming is better than what we have for any other farming technique.
So you're kind of I know you're a front runner in Korean natural farming in your region. Are you also kind of a front runner in cannabis in your region?
Yeah, when I started talking about cannabis in Korean natural farming, no one's really done it, and it's just exploded from there. Cannabis farmers have been flocking to this technology because the low cost of it, the better production, the terpene production that you get from your plants. It's good for the environment, it saves the environment, and it helps reverse what conventional farming has done for damage against our local land.
Yeah, so it's more than just making money. It's you're into it for what it does to the ecosystem.
Yes, I'm into it because if I teach more farmers, then we can all have beneficial runoff, which is unheard of in America. And if you don't know what that is, it's where the runoff off my farm, when it hits the streams, it brings in microlife, which brings in worms, which then there's a food supply for the fish to come back up our streams and our creeks, and it just betters our environment altogether.
And then the other thing that I know about it is it's lower cost for higher quality.
Yes. For input cost on my outdoor production, I'm at a penny for 2 grams of bud weight.
Dang. And what's in that, what's standard in your?
It's usually 6 to 9 cents per gram.
So you're about a third to more than that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So labor though, automation would definitely help, but with natural farming, you want to include the community because then you can teach with it. So right now, I'm more about paying for labor than buying automation.
Yeah. More people included, teaching, kind of spreading the wealth that you're generating to more people.
Yes, because with green natural farming, you got to make inputs, and so if you bring people in, you're paying the other residents of your community, which then builds the economy in your local area. Whereas if you're buying a synthetic, you're making one person rich.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of been what's up with Korean natural farming. It's been a fairly decentralized movement.
Yes.
So what have you been doing to kind of besides your own farm? What else have you been doing to kind of bolster this in your region?
Working with Washington State Department of Ag, bringing it to them, letting them know what it is. When they look at it, they look at it as a biostimulant. And with the 2018 Farm Bill that was just passed in the U.S., we have a definition for a biostimulant. So Korean natural farming falls right in line with that definition.
So, how familiar are you with the legislative or regulatory processes?
I'm so. I'm not the best when it comes to local government, but for the most part, they're pretty helpful. I take my knowledge in, and we sit down, and we talk about it, and they can they definitely know I'm a farmer. I'm not college educated, got a master's or anything like that. So they work with me.
Kind of salt of the earth.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, well, yeah. I mean, those are the real people you're wanting. I mean, that I see that I want to work with are people who have dirt under their fingernails,
yes. The people
and
that are out in the fields that are working day in and day out. So I want someone representing me as a farmer that is also a farmer or that came from farming. I don't want some college educated guy that's never been outside the city representing me. So it's definitely, since we don't have any representation, I take it upon myself to go represent the local farmers and try and educate my local government on what this is and what it can help with.
yeah, yeah. Well, so I actually I do have a college degree, but I'm also a farmer now. So no offense to anyone out there who's
Yeah,
gotten higher education.
yeah,
It's I think more what it is it's like academic arrogance that you know it's you want like real like I know this because I did this, I grew this, right?
exactly. Yeah, it's nothing against someone that went to college and stuff. College is a great thing. I have college background also, but I'm a farmer, and I come from a long line of farmers.
So how did you get into it then?
Um, Pretty much early 2000s, I was a medical cannabis grower. Some of my patients that I had big problems, health problems, and they couldn't farm themselves. So I had a green thumb, and I don't use the products, but I love growing it. So I would grow the product for these patients, and it just went from there. Some bigger growers took me under their wing and showed me how to grow a little more commercial style. And so when we went legal, I went ahead and got a license because I had some background in commercial production.
Yeah. And how has that transition been to you or been for you going into legalization?
With legalization, that's kind of when I was practicing some natural farming, but I wasn't competent enough to teach it. And so that's what started my mission to seek out the founder and the other teachers to really get good with Korean natural farming, because when we legalized, there's a lot of home growers that poured their savings into this legalization. And I saw from a commercial standpoint that it was only going to be a few years and they're going to be losing their butt when the market price dropped. So I wanted to be able to teach as many as I could what natural farming was. So hopefully they would have the tools to make it through the tough times. And some of them have. It's really helped them through the tough times. And I'm glad that they got the knowledge.
Yeah, because the industry is radically shifting right now, right?
It is. They're using the big corporation motto in the legalization where we'll take a loss for X amount of years to drive out our competition.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So a lot of people have failed in Washington State. So the natural farmers, their costs are so low that they can buckle down and they can take a hit on price and make it through. So that way they can stay competing against the big corporations. So we're going to have a lot of mids and we're going to have some really nice flowers. And there's a few farms. I got to give the shout out to No Bad Days and Land Race Farms that are both green natural farming technique grown, and they're producing nicely.
Yeah, and so with no bad days ranch, I'm only familiar with those guys a little bit, mostly through you, but I also follow them on Instagram and maybe Facebook as well. but you've been kind of mentoring them?
Yes, my very first class was at University of Washington in Tacoma, and I brought books and I spoke for a good hour, and all these cannabis growers from all over my state and outside the state flocked to hear me speak, and they bought books, and I mentored them for a little bit there, and then they left, and I never saw them again. And I went to an industry event in my suit and tie, and they saw me and they said, "Hey, you're the guy. You're the reason." And so after that, went to their farm, and I got to see what they did with the knowledge, and it's wonderful.
Cool. So they took kind of a course from you at Washington State,
Yep.
and then you gave them out books. Which books?
They got the two Cho books, the green natural farming materials, and then the green and white theory natural farming Cho book.
The natural farming book.
Yeah, yeah. Translation's not that good on that, so. But yeah, I was really surprised that they took it and they really put their mind to it and got working, and proud of them.
Yeah, and you also just did a field trip there, right?
Yes, I did. When Master Cho came into my city, Rochester, Washington, we stopped by, and it was the first cannabis farm that Master Cho's ever been on.
Wow.
And so rather than taking them to mine, I took them to theirs first because they've done such an awesome job at implementing KNF. And just their production, first year of production, 800 pounds. And then they went ahead and implemented some KNF in it and some liquid IMOs. And 1,300 pounds just in a course of a year, and it just keeps going up from there.
So their yields are increasing.
Their yields are increasing. The better their soil gets, the more life it gets in it, the better the yield is.
And that's not changing their permit, like they're permitted on like canopy space or something?
Yeah, they're a tier 3, so it's 30,000 square foot plant canopy. So they're still, the nugs they got more weight, and by weight that's more trichomes on it. So in the cannabis industry, you want your trichomes because the oil is what everyone loves. That's the medicine. It's not the plant material.
Right. And that can be denser, just like for the same volume, it just is more dense, so it's more weight.
Yes. So through my research of natural farming and the cannabis plant, when you look under a microscope for a square inch, you have X amount of trichomes growing in, for say, that square inch on it. Well, with natural farming, green natural farming specifically, you have a denser population, so your trichomes are growing closer together, which adds weight. And that's what you want. That's why I send all my stuff out to extract. I'm pushing 23.9% oil by weight, which industry standard 16 to 19.
Wow. So you're getting percentages more, and then you're not for a lower cost.
Lower cost. I'm getting better percentages, better oil coming out of it. And unfortunately, the flower market, I wish people would understand what we're trying to give them, but they don't. No one wants to pay the higher cost for that flower, so our only market really is extract.
Oh, interesting. So if you just took the flower and they were like cured nicely and you trimmed them all nice and you had them in a jar next to some other thing, they're not going to value it the same way.
No, because with more weight means a smaller bud for that gram. So if you look at curb appeal, I'll be pushing a smaller bud than my competition that's running a mid. So the consumer says, "Oh, look at that package. It's got more product in it. I want the one with more product," even though they're getting substandard product.
Wow. That's like a psychological battle then.
It is.
So I can see why you would extract it then, because in an extract form, that the customer looks at it and they're gonna see that the same like per weight. You can't really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get better money send it to extraction than I do flour.
Wow. And then what is your market now? Are you in medical still?
No, I'm in legalization. So we call it I-502, Initiative 502, where we went legalized in 2013 in Washington State.
Okay. And then that enables you to sell.
We had 3 tiers. We had a tier 1 that did 2,000 square foot of plant canopy at any one time. A tier 2, which is me, 10,000 square foot plant canopy. And then we have a tier 3, which is 30,000 square feet plant canopy. So at any one time, I can have a maximum of 10,000 square feet of plant canopy. And that's length times width. They don't count height in there.
Really?
Yes.
So, I mean, so could you grow monster tall plants?
Yep. And when they came out, all they measure is length times width.
Wow.
So if you have yourself a really nice Christmas tree looking plant, they're just looking for the widest part.
Is it possible then to do some sort of trellising system?
It is. The trellising does work. A lot of the genetics I go with do really good in my environment, and I just trellis just for a flat top, basically. The genetic I love is my bubble gum that came from back east, from Indiana area. Been working with this genetic since early 2000s. It was about 2005, 2006 is when it was brought out to me in the medical days. And it just naturally has these nice fat nugs up top, and so it just fits the trellising system perfect.
That makes sense to me.
So it makes it so a small operation like me can still produce.
Yeah, and if you're using KNF and you're getting that higher density within your product, not only are you stacking it, higher, you're also stacking it like more dense within what's growing on the plant.
Exactly. So, and that's another big thing is, like my environment, I grow south of Olympia, Washington, full outdoor. And with natural farming, I don't have the botrytis, I don't have the mold issues that a lot of growers do. A lot of growers, like right down the street from me, they're having to put stuff on it so they don't mold. So just part of the regimen of natural farming with the microorganisms protect my plants. And I've ran 2 years of R&D, conventional farming versus natural farming. And every year the conventional farming fails miserably. I even did a year where I did not do any foliar sprays on my plant. I had an 80% mold rate. And I had less moisture that year than I did the prior year, where I took on 3 weeks of pure rain. Never lost a single bud to mold.
What do you attribute that to?
Lactobacillus.
Really?
Yes. It's naturally in our air, and it's part of the KNF regimen. It's a natural process for your plants. It just so happens that it takes up so much room on your leaf and stuff, and it helps protect your plants.
Yeah, so I call lacto the KNF police.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like having the KNF police all over your ganja.
Yeah. Arresting those bad guys and making sure they got their permits.
Yeah.
So can we get a little bit into your natural farming learning journey?
Oh yes. Sorry.
So where did that first kind of start for you? How'd you first hear of natural farming?
First learned about it from my next door neighbor. I live next door to a hippie.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is that dude we met with the vegetable farm?
Yes.
We saw his pigs and stuff?
Yeah, so I learned from him in the driveway one day when I first met him.
Really?
Yeah, we were just walking by each other, and he was telling me about this book called Jadam. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, my way of natural farming was compost teas, some lactobacillus, and that was about the extent. Like, that was working for me for a lot of years. And, but then I never knew where the information came from. I just learned it online pretty much. So he told me about this Jadam book, and he showed it to me. Went to his house, grabbed it, showed it, and I was like, okay. So I took the name, I went and looked it up, and then next thing I know, I'm like researching the information. And it's not that great for cannabis because with all our testing, you can't really use the Jadam. It's anaerobic. But I noticed that the father of this Jadam guy had this stuff called Korean natural farming, so I started researching that, and that's when I noticed, I was like, wait, I'm already using some of this stuff. So then I thought, okay, I got to get good at this because we're coming in a legalization. And so for me, it was all about going to learn to share. I already knew what I was doing was good and everything, so it wasn't really for me. I wanted to get the knowledge and I wanted people to listen to me and know that they're getting good knowledge. I wasn't trying to share snake oil.
Yeah, yeah. And like, prove it yourself
Yeah,
and do your own research, right? And like own the
exactly.
material
Because
yourself.
I can't tell somebody, hey, this is good, if I don't know through experience that's good. So I sat there and I should have been running my farm for business to make money, but I was running it for research because in Washington State, it was harder to get a research license than it was to get a normal license.
Huh.
You got to pair up with some school and then they direct you what you can research. And for me, it wasn't about that because normally you're researching for big pharma. I want to research for the farmer. And so that's why I went with a normal license, was so that way I could research for the farmer.
Oh, okay, okay.
And if you research for the farmer, then you have a better product going out to the consumer. So it's a win for them. And then it's a win for Mother Earth because now she's getting all these good farmers rather than the ones that are dumping chemicals.
Yeah. Where did you get the lactobacillus recipe prior to your natural farming?
A blog, cannabis blog somewhere.
Really?
Yeah. So when you go out there on the blogs, people talk about things that are helping them. But at that time, it wasn't, when I heard about it, it wasn't used for foliar. It was, you added in, it was part of a regimen to help make your compost teas better.
Oh, so a compost tea and then that would be a root drench?
Yes.
Ah.
So it was never talked about anything with foliar.
So maybe people were using it as a root drench and they didn't even know they could spray it up in the canopy and
Exactly.
mitigate these molds.
Yeah. So it was there, it just wasn't used properly, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not like, there's nothing wrong with using lacto in the soil.
No,
though.
there isn't. I use it for clones. I mean, it's awesome for clones. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand that is you spray it in there, especially when you throw a dome on a tray of rock wool or something like that, and you're worried about molds growing in there. Some lacto, you're fine. Or if you're transplanting to soil and you want some little help with your roots and stuff, go ahead and dip in some lacto before you throw it in that dirt. You get roots that just spread a lot quicker.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it, but it's good to hear it back from you.
Oh yeah.
So you learned from your neighbor, and he gave you the Jadam book, and then you found out about Master Cho.
Yep. So, and then from there, it's all downhill.
All downhill. That's good.
Yeah, downhill.
Assuming you got a sled or something.
Oh yeah, man. Knowledge was quick and easy, and even though it cost some money to do the traveling and learn and stuff like that, it was still cheaper than going to a university.
Well,
And a lot more hands-on too.
yeah, and also sometimes the university is so divide and conquer, right? That you kind of miss the broader picture. And
Yeah, you do. With natural farming and the learning, it's more about the love and the community of love. It's not really follow this recipe type thing. It's really hard to explain it. You learn, but you learn through love. It's kind of weird how that works.
so when I first met you, it was what, 2016?
Yeah,
And
2016.
Summertime, I think it was
Yeah.
right around my birthday.
Yeah,
So-
you came to Washington to do a class in Bellevue, a 2-day class, and that was like the first time that we've ever seen something live in Washington State or around. I mean, you could read about it online in 2015, 2014. You could read about it, but there's no like hands-on. Nobody was stepping up to show.
And if I remember correctly, that was at the Live and Shine Center. That was my mom's yoga studio in Bellevue. Adil Pakivala, if you're looking for a great yogi, look him up. He needs your business. But he opened up his studio to me because he was also interested in these microbes. And if I recall correctly, you were one of the last people to come into the workshop?
Yes, I was. So it was, I think ticket sales were sold out or something like that. And it was just like spur of the moment. I heard about this class within just short amount of time. And I messaged Eric and I was like, hey, if I bring money, can I pay at the door? And he said, yeah. So that's what I did. I came and I paid at the door.
Yeah, I remember. What I remember you telling me was you heard it off the PFA, right?
PFA, yes.
And-
PFA was a big thing during those days too. So,
Yeah. So funny story. When you first mentioned that
mhm.
to me, that was the first mention I had ever heard of PFA. Later, I learned out it's the Probiotic Farmers Alliance, and that it's one of the largest probiotic cannabis growing groups with Alan Atkinson, who's like the man.
Yes, yes. I don't know what's going on in there no more. Uh, I end up getting booted and kicked out.
Ooh,
Yeah.
it's heavy in there. I
Oh,
tell you.
well, it wasn't even in there. It was in the Korean Natural Farming Group. I posted some natural minerals, and
Ah,
one of the moderators in that group is also a moderator over at PFA. And me and her got into it because obviously she didn't know what natural minerals were. Because I guess I don't know if she ever picked up a book, but yeah, she accused me of selling some synthetic Chinese junk, and we had a couple of choice words to each other privately. And next thing I know, I'm kicked out of PFA too.
is that Luna?
I don't know. I'm not going to drop names.
Okay.
Yep. If
Yeah.
she hears this, she'll know.
Yeah. Okay. She's also
Or I mean, he or whoever it is. I'm not going to give a gender either.
okay. Well, yeah, and if it is Luna, it's you know, she's both at one point. But yeah, she's been a great moderator of the natural farming group on Facebook too. So big
Yeah.
shout out to her for helping out.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for the person that kicked me and got into it, I wouldn't be a moderator of the Korean Natural Farming either, because I ran to Drake and I said, "Hey, can I get back into the KNF group? And can I become a moderator?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, not a problem."
Yeah. Well, I like to get the people who are doing the right thing on the right team. So
Yep. So, and a little background on that is we had a natural farmer, a part of the group. His son came down with some cancer, and to help support him, I took some natural minerals I got from Master Cho in Korea, and they're not readily available, and they're kind of spendy. But I took 4 ounces out of every bottle and put them up for auction, with 100% of proceeds going to this gentleman's child. And I took some books I had that were the last in existence that I knew of, and I put those up for auction too, and went ahead and donated all the money to help the family out. So it was a good cause.
yeah, I've seen that again and again with you, Jeff. Man,
Yeah.
your heart is big, man. It's putting the right people and helping the right people out, man.
I try. I mean, there's a lot of love. You got to keep the love going though.
So with that Washington class, I remember the first night was kind of like get people pumped, tell them about the health benefits, and then the next day was full on like demo, hands on. So what was your takeaways from that?
Uh, oh, you're talking about the class that we threw together in 6 weeks that you came over? No,
Well,
we're talking about your class.
Well, the first Bellevue one, but
Okay,
then
yeah.
we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one, it was good. It was besides the seating there.
Yeah, we're kind of on the ground.
Yeah, we're kind of on the ground.
Yeah.
But it was good. The farmers that came to that, you could see all walks of life in this room. I mean, you had everyone from the straight and narrow to the people that came straight out of the field to, you think your grandmother and your mother showed up too. So everybody from all walks of life showed up for this knowledge drop. And it was really good on Friday night. It was a few hours. Eric gave free to let people decide if they really want to invest into some education or not. And some people just came and they heard about it and they left, and other people came, they heard about it, and then they wanted in on the weekend class. So once he went through everything with us, he showed us some hands-on, which, oh my goodness, the hands-on was like, you can do a lot with nothing. He showed up with a box of jars. That's all he had. To his name, it looked like
Some sugar.
yeah, and some sugar. And if you've ever seen Eric in person, he hasn't really changed much. So I didn't know if he just came from underneath the viaducts there in downtown Seattle or not. But I was willing to help the cause. So
Yeah. And then Spencer was there, and then
Spencer and Dia from Northern California, they drove overnight up for this knowledge. They've been doing some natural farming down there, and they just wanted to connect the dots and go full circle like the rest of us. I mean, when someone's out here preaching this good word through, I mean, it was such low cost too to come. I mean, we understand you got to make some money to pay for that airline. Airlines aren't free from the Big Island.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was well worth every penny.
Right on.
So, and then I was going commercial, and or I was commercial, and a lot of the stuff Eric was teaching was for the home gardeners. So of
Hmm.
course, I asked him. I said, "Hey, can you upscale this?" And of course, Eric being Eric, he's like, "Yeah."
Well, that's it for our free episode. So join us at www.microbialsecret.org for the full episode and join the Microbial Secret Society. So may the beneficial microbes be with you. Aloha.